Good day, learners. You are welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. We are in biology class. And in today's class, we'll be looking at social insects with emphasis on termites.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
In our previous lesson, we focused on honeybees. So we are concluding the lesson on social insects, focusing on termites. Termites, they are social insects. They live in groups, they communicate. They have division of labor amongst them. They have different group members carrying out different things. So, termites are usually found living together in large communities. What are their features or considerations about their habitat? Termites, generally, they live in nests, which can be in form of the following. Termites, they live in nests, and the nest can be presented in form of tunnels in dead wood. It made me remember when I was much younger living in the village that we will always show keen interest in opening up, breaking in pieces, logs of wood, looking for what? Termites. So termites can be found in tunnels in dead wood. When we have chambers in the ground, under the ground, termites can equally be found there. They live in ant hills, or what is called termitaria. Termitaria is used in plural form. When you hear the word termitarium, is in singular form. Termites living in colony, they consist of different groups. And these groups include the following. The first one, they have king, they have queen, they have workers, and they have many soldiers. You will see king, queen, workers, soldiers in the group that forms what we call termites living in colony. Here I have pictures representing the different groups or castes of termites. The first here is a worker. We still try to look at the features of each one. Here is a worker. This, the upper one, nationate soldier and mandibulate soldiers. They are group that is called, or that are called soldiers. We have another group called winged reproductive. These ones are so important to the group. Why? The winged reproductive, from it we have workers, soldiers, queen, and king. At the middle here, we have king. We have king. And the last two images on the screen displays queen. The first one is primary queen, and the second one is secondary queen. So in the colony of termites, we are likely going to have different organisms that will represent these different groups. We want to look at the roles of these groups of organisms living in a colony that is referred to as termites. The first to be considered is the king. The king. Usually a king is always a male. So in insect population called termites, they have king. And this king, here it is referred to as what? A reproductive male individual. Without the king, there can be no reproduction. For continuity of life, reproduction is key. This king, they do not have wings. When you look at their sizes, kings are smaller in size compared to the queen. Remember, we looked at this picture earlier on. So here is a king. The last two, we refer to them as the queen. Then what is the role of a king? The primary role of a king is to mate with the queen and fertilize the queen. It is through the process of fertilization that young ones will be produced. What about the queen? Look at the size of a queen. When you look at the size of this, you have a number of other colony members around the queen. But look at the size of the queen. The queen has a small head and a small thorax. When you look closely at this image, you will see the head and the thorax of the queen. It has a large abdomen that is swollen with what? Eggs. Look at the head. See the small thorax. From this point where from this end, from this side to the end, the whole lot of this represents the abdomen. And you can see it is big and is swollen, laden with what? Eggs. And in any colony, you have a queen, only one at a given time. There cannot be two, only one at a time. What is the role of a queen? The primary role of a queen is to produce eggs that will be fertilized, and it will lay the eggs. So it produces eggs, the eggs get fertilized, and the queen proceeds to lay the eggs. As soon as the queen assumes that role and it's mature for it, it continues with that. And it is interesting to note that a queen can lay eggs up to what? Thousands of eggs in 1 year. Up to 1,000 eggs in one given year. Here I have an image or picture comparing a king with that of a queen. Remember, we did say that a queen has a small head and thorax. It is an insect with 3 body divisions, and you can see the length that represents the abdomen. Compare it with that of the king. The king equally has a head, it has a thorax, and this is a head. From this end to this end, it represents what? The thorax. And from here up to this end represents the abdomen. So when you compare this with that of the queen, you will come to understand that the size of the king is small compared to that of the king. Look at the whole length covered. Here is a queen. This is a head. And here, from this point, here is what? The thorax. And from this point to the end, we have the whole lot of this as what? Abdomen. So this is what we have as comparing the queen and that of the king. The queen is to reproduce. As the king mates to fertilize the egg of the queen. They produce a group of young ones that is called winged reproductive. We call them winged reproductive. From our pictures that we watched earlier on. So this is a winged reproductive, the whole of this. You can see the wing. We are looking at the winged reproductive. What do? They establish the colony. And one of the reproductive one will become the queen, and from that member of the wing reproductive, another one will become the king. When a colony where they live, when it is relatively too small for them, they move. They move. And as they move into a new area. When they get to the new area, automatically in the group that moves, almost all of them, at that point, they are called winged reproductive. But the moment they get there, they have one assuming the role of a queen, another one assuming the role of a king. And the other ones will form either workers or soldiers. And sometimes the feed, what they are fed on, determines what they become. So the winged reproductive, they have wings. They are all fertile. So they are capable of reproducing. Remember I said from it, they have queen, we have king. Because they are fertile, they can reproduce, and we have queen, king coming forth from that group. Then the next group in the colony is what we call soldiers. We all know the role of soldiers. What do they do? All right? Soldiers, they are sterile. What are they? They are sterile. Unlike the winged reproductive that we said they are fertile, these ones are sterile. They cannot reproduce. They do not have wings. They lost that ability. Their heads are big with strong maxillae and mandible. That is the mouth part. When we are talking of mandibles and maxillae, this one we are referring to what? Mouth part. And we say they have strong one. They use this for what? To carry out their role. They are blind. They cannot see. What role do they perform? Soldiers defend the colony against enemies. Enemies at the same time, we can call them what? Intruders. Remember, we are looking at termites. If you break into their ant hills, at the first set of termites that will come to attack, you have broken one before. You will see the soldiers. With a strong mandible and maxilla, whichever one they are coming all out. They cannot see, but they can sense where you are. We have mentioned their roles. Here we have images of soldiers. Can you see their mouth parts? This one's antenna, body divided in 3. See this one. So they use this one to attack in order for them to defend the colony. The last group that we are looking at is what we call the workers. Workers, what are they? They do not have wings. They are wingless. They are equally blind. They are sterile. They form the majority in the colony. They are serving all others. So like in human population, they form what we call the masses. They possess well-developed mouth parts. I have a picture here. If you can see this clearly, when you look at some of the workers here, you will see some parts like what we have here. They have substances in their mouth. Workers are at work. Here they are looking for food, or they have gotten food, They have gotten food to feed the members. And looking at their roles, what are the roles of termites? They build and repair the termite nests, the termitarium, when they live underground or they live in dead wood, tunnels in dead wood. They are to ensure that they prepare that place, they build it up. They provide food for members of the colony. The previous one that we watched, I circled some termite workers that have food substances in their mouth. The next one says they care for the eggs laid by the queen. They are sterile, they cannot reproduce. So all they do is to ensure that whatever the queen, the young one produced by the queens, they are well cared for, and the chamber is well kept. They fill the limbs as well as what? The queen. The limbs, they are the young ones. So the workers, they carry out these different roles, so they are so important. When we look at the life cycle of a termite, their life cycle goes this way. They lay eggs, they are insects, they lay eggs, their eggs will develop into what is called larva. From larva, they form what is called lymph. From the lymph, all right, they will now develop into the different groups. Here we have the 3 core groups, workers, soldiers, and what is the other one? Reproductive ones. From the reproductive one, remember when we're looking at winged reproductive, you can see this one having wings. They can now develop to become either the king or the queen. King meeting with the queen, laying eggs, and the cycle goes on and on in that order. When they move from their existing habitats, they move when the habitat becomes relatively too small for them. Competition becomes so high, resources is no longer sufficient. Large number of these termites will move. They form a colony. And the process of moving is what is known as what? Swarm, or we say they are swarming. They move in large group. Are they important in any way? Termites, they played significant role in the population or community. The first one they do, the first role they perform is they use clay to build their ant hill. They produce their ant hills. They are building, they are dwelling places by themselves. And that one is done by the workers. We are now saying to other animals, what do we benefit from these organisms? When we collect the clay they use in building their ant hills, termitarium and others, we can use it to construct a tennis court, the surface of a tennis court, and it's going to be solidified. The second role or importance of termites, they aerate the soil, and this they do by loosening it. As they move through the soil, they aerate the soil. They create an opening that air can occupy that space. That is the concept of aerating, which helps the plant to grow. Another important role, termites, they destroy wood and furniture. You see, what we have here is positive and negative roles. What other function or importance? They produce a good source of protein. We can collect the insects. If I could tell my story when I was in the village, when it rains and there is light in the night, we'll bring out bowls or buckets with water. The winged reproductive that loses its wings and falls, we will collect them, roast them. They are good meals, source of protein. Number 5, they are very rich in protein, and they therefore are good source of protein and fats. The other function is their activities during the breaking down of wood help to add humus into the soil. What do we mean by humus? The composed part of plants, when it mixes up with the soft soil, it's known as what? Humus. So these are some of the important areas that we considered termites to have great economic importance. And based on the concept that we have discussed today in class, quickly, I have some practice questions for you to go through. You have 2 or 3 minutes to attempt this. The first one is, what are winged reproductive termites? Second one, state 2 differences between a worker and a soldier. The third one is highlights 3 economic importance of termites. You have a few minutes to attempt these questions. All right, you're welcome back to class. Let's quickly go through the prepared answers. I want you to compare the answers on the screen with what you have. Winged reproductive termites, what are they? They are young termites that are able to develop into king, queens, and other groups, soldiers, and they are gotten from there. They are potential kings and queens. Then we have to differentiate between workers and soldiers. What is the role of workers? Prepare food and care for the young ones. Even the queen, they care for the queen too. What about the soldiers? They carry out two basic functions. The first is to protect the termitarium ant hill or the nest, and the other one is defense against intruders. The last question is for us to state at least 3 economic importance. There are several, but we limit it to 3. From here we have 4. The first one is the clay gotten from the ant hills can be used to construct a tennis court by man. They help in aerating the soil as they move through the soil. They create air spaces there. The third importance, the destructive nature of termites, which can be very devastating. They destroy woods and what? Furniture. And last but not the least, they produce a good source of protein. With this, we have come to the end of today's lesson. For questions, for observations, you can reach us through the social media handles on display. Thank you.
Acing your WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects: mathematics, English language, physics, chemistry, and biology, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates on this station. Learners can also connect with Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.